All right. Now let's welcome in next to the stage the founding director of the UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Institute, Sonja Diaz, and former president of the Latina Lawyers Bar Association, Lucero Chavez Basilio.
Buenos dias, buenos dias. There's no imposter syndrome over here. We're good, right, Sonia? We are right. Ya empezamos bien. Buenos dias. This weekend has been years in the making. That is especially true of the contributions and leadership of the Latina Lawyers Bar Association, the nation's first organization that provides a home for Latinas at every stage of their legal career. Together with the UCLA Chicana Latinx Law Review and the Latina Futures 2050 Lab, LOBA has devoted significant time, resources, and ingenuity to curate a space for ambitious Latinas to convene, plot, and imagine a landscape where we can walk through the world as equals with dignity and the agency to transform persistent barriers into avenues of opportunity.
Through the power of testimonio, a genre that exposes brutality, disrupts silencing, and builds solidarity among women of color and Latinas, we want to anchor this symposium with our personal stories, our testimonios. For far too long, Latina advocates, scholars, leaders, workers, students, creatives have sought to enter, to remain, and to alter spaces of exclusion. Brutal spaces. Spaces that silence and expel voices that challenge the dominance of white male mediocrity. Yeah. Lucero and I stand on the shoulders of Latina leaders and trailblazers who sought to give voice, to create space, and to defy expectations. This welcome grounds our collaborative work in the past. The program, all of the discussions, all of the spotlight on Latina issues will cement today's regressive tendencies. But together, we're going to nurture the energy necessary to imagine, to fantasize, to dream, to equip future generations with the resources and the fortitude necessary to seize positions of power and influence, so that decision-making evolves away, far away from the disparate focus on an aging non-Hispanic white demographic, to center on the needs and the promise of an increasingly multiracial and multi-ethnic society.
I pursued a legal education because of a drive to be of service to communities that look like mine. I had the unique example of my sister, Erika Joaquina Diaz, who pursued a JD while juggling full-time work and parenting 2 young children. Erika's pursuit of a career in the law helped me to overcome the lack of educational materials and reference points of female attorneys, politicians, and leaders. Yet the erasure of Latina history and contributions to this democracy is something that Latina lawyers continually have to work against.
Yep.
Much of the work of the Hispanic National Bar Association's first female president anchored an organizational commitment to spotlighting the Latina experience in American jurisprudence. As an outgrowth of this focus, Dolores Atencio, a Latina lawyer from Southern Colorado and HNBA president in 1991, pursued a decades-long investigation of the nation's first Latina lawyers. Her research project, entitled Luminarias de la Ley, was recently published by the UCLA Chicana Latinx Law Review, the nation's first Latino-focused legal journal. This is a photo of Herminia Tormes Garcia, the first Latina lawyer in the US, with her classmates at the University of Puerto Rico School of Law around 1917.
I grew up 26 miles east of here, the eldest daughter of 2 Chicano public servants who dedicated their lives to growing Latino political power, amongst students, amongst workers, amongst barrios, and across barrios. I'm a graduate of 3 University of California campuses, but my education really was cemented in the community. We went to marches, we went to protests, we went to art and cultural institutions or political meetings or government meetings, often with a lunchbox and some crayons, and my brother Tomas and I would sit in the back and watch our parents and watch our community really work together to collaborate for change. Because of the work of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund and demographers like the late Leo Estrada, may he rest in peace, I was able to grow up in a community that is subject to Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. My community has Latino majority districts. And because of that, because of the tenacious advocacy of Latino leaders, Gloria Molina, presente, Gloria Molina, her political ascendancy of many firsts, first on the LA City Council, first Latina state legislature in the state of California, to the first woman on the board of the 5 Kings, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, 2 million constituents for each one of the 5. What this meant for me is representation. What this meant for Lucero and I as young Chicanas is a Christmas card of Gloria and her beautiful family every holiday, wishing us a beautiful Christmas. Que viva Gloria.
Que viva.
Que viva. This is a photo of Soledad Chavez Chacon, who was elected to Secretary of State in the state of New Mexico. She is the first Latina, the first woman of color to ever win constitutional statewide office in this country. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there has yet to be a Latina governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, treasurer, insurance commissioner, board of education in the state of California. U.S. Senate, thank you, in California as well.
As Latino leaders formalized and incorporated cultural spaces, political clubs, nonprofit organizations, and other entities, persistent gender discrimination hindered Latinas' capacity to access the benefits and support their male colleagues controlled. This was true of Latina lawyers in Latino spaces. The deliberate and strategic exclusion of Latinas to key positions of leadership by the Mexican American Bar Association gave way to LLBA. In 1997, Corinne Sanchez ran uncontested for MABA president. The night of the elections, a new male candidate emerged, as did a slew of old members that had not participated in the organization in years. They determined that too many Latina lawyers had been president. It didn't matter that Corinne had done everything right. She rose through the ranks, had been involved with the organization, paid her dues, literally, figuratively. She was a woman. That sealed the deal. LLBA emerged as a direct response to the exclusion, sidelining, and silencing of Latina advocates. It persists as a national space for Latina success and ambition.
I'm a 4th-generation Angelino. My dad's side of the family was based in Boyle Heights, a multiracial community then, nestled between not 1, not 2, but 5 different freeways. And it's on the other side of this thing we call the Los Angeles River. East Los Angeles defines so much of my childhood, but it really has cemented my worldview, and I'll tell you why. It remains a core case study in the power of leadership, the power of community, and the ways in which people work together to challenge unjust systems. It's prolific. From the Madrigal 10's lawsuit to end the forced sterilization of Chicanas at LA County Hospital in Lincoln Heights, to the mothers of East Los Angeles, who time and time again in the 1980s through the 1990s combated things from a prison, criminal justice is a Latina issue, to a battery incinerator, environmental justice is a Latina issue, to an oil pipeline. Sound familiar? I'm the product of a barrio where Latinas seized power and changed lives.
Sonja and I experienced a formative moment in Latino politics as young Chicanas in 1990s Southern California, watching organizers for progressive politics emerge. During our girlhood, we saw the majority of voters in California ban affirmative action in public universities and state employment, deny undocumented immigrants social services, eliminate bilingual classes in public schools, and mandate 25 years to life for 3-time repeat offenders. In our early 20s, Southern California was the epicenter of the immigrants' rights movement, including May Day 2006 during the Bush administration and anti-deportation actions and a push for deferred action during the Obama administration. The potential for political power and proximity to mass movements for social justice colored our legal education and advocacy.
Lucero and I, we cut our teeth in student activism. During our schooling, the cost of a college education started to rise astronomically. Now, for many of you students in the room, how many folks are enrolled right now in a degree-granting program? Amazing, amazing. You're saddled with the failure of the status quo and the rising cost of living in this state and across this country. For us, it was tuition, it was books, but it was more than that. Because for us, the ban of affirmative action that happened when we were young Chicanas in the 90s really meant that the diversity, the ingenuity, the things that we've been talking about were not in the classroom on purpose. And that's because we weren't a critical mass. We didn't have a critical mass in our administrators or in our educators. And so although at UC Santa Cruz, as an undergraduate, I had 4 Latina PhD professors, 4. That was more than the 4 public school districts I attended in Los Angeles County. Yet, during my graduate school here, not a single Latina on faculty, not a single Latina administrator in the professional school. Berkeley Law went up to UCLA, there was one, Dr. Victoria Plout. Now, one of the things about our activism is that it was multiracial, it was multi-ethnic. Of the 5 black males in my graduating class at UC Berkeley School of Law, only 1 was from California. Black population during that time was 8% of the state. Ultimately, our activism during this time drilled home the reality through chants and posters that excellence demands diversity. And our stories, our testimonios cement that excellence is in our community, but it's too willfully ignored.
My leadership journey began with my family, observing my mother, not even 5 foot tall, spirited mujer, shuffling 5 kids around, making ends meet, defying cultural norms, flying to DC to picket her union during the big supermarket strikes after working in factories where union talk was a non-starter and layoffs were constant. My mom wasn't ever purposely at the front, but she was pushed, and she would rise to the occasion. My mom knew we believed in her, and that fueled her. I've got kids of my own now, too, so I know what that feels like. And like my mom, I'm a busybody. Siempre por aquí o por allá, de metiche, de trabajadora. And that also means I'm a worker bee, believing I could leave the visioning to someone else. It made sense that I would choose to join LOBA early on in my legal career and over time help to operationalize the infrastructure necessary to activate a racial equity agenda in every space I found myself in. As president of LOBA, I worked to broaden the organization from a regional to a national bar association while leveraging a digital environment to grow our membership and influence. Like Corinne Sanchez, over the last 10 plus years, I paid my dues to LOBA, deciding finally to become a lifetime member, porque está caro la cosa.
I went to preschool at Para los Niños in Skid Row, where I had a crib in my mom's office. And as a toddler, I'd follow her around with a pen and paper. I was the little boss. In some ways, I still am. My family's lives were changed through purposeful public policy at a time in this country where there was statutory reform. They were the first in their families to go to college through affirmative action. I am an indirect beneficiary of affirmative action because I live in California where we outlawed it when I was a young girl. Growing up, my mom was the breadwinner. Our research at LPPI confirms this. Not only was she the breadwinner, she was working so that my dad could go pursue a PhD in tenure. Now, her work was in social programs, whether it was in Skid Row or the housing projects in South Central, in East Los Angeles. And as the eldest of three, there was an expectation to lead. I had two professional parents. I had a mom who started working at the age of 5 in the fields. Dad on construction sites as an 11-year-old. They went to college. We were going to college. But more than that, my life really left little to the imagination, but challenging power. What a radical upbringing. I grew up knowing that my community mattered, that we mattered. And I grew up with the sense of an obligation of public service, but to not just confront injustice because of my parents, because of my community, because of my family, that there was an opportunity to strategically alter the levers, those levers of power through both confrontation and subversion. My leadership is situated squarely with the repurposing of institutions for the long run.
In my next chapter, I will continue to lean into my leadership, no longer having to be pushed as much. During the 20th anniversary LOBA Scholarship and Awards dinner, one of our honorees, LOBA past president, Silvia Torres Guillen, said, "When we lift each other up, that's when we rise." I'm here for it. I'm here to lift you up, to be your cheerleader, to call you in. But I'm also here to stand in my light, to put my legal education and life experiences to work, and to model balance.
Model balance. I did vision boarding, and that was my friend Olga's word, balance, for this year. I look forward to the seasons to come for you, Lucero, and for that balancing act, that core work. For me, at 31, I co-founded the first Latino issues think tank in the University of California. Woo! After 7 memorable years, over $40 million stewarded, countless academics, over 100 students trained, I'm transitioning from my role at the Latino Policy and Politics Institute on a new chapter of focusing on gender through the Latina Futures 2050 Lab. Whew. Thank you. In this new chapter, I hope to nourish, maybe that's my word, nourish, new opportunities that embrace Latinas and marginalized people as equal actors in this society. I crave creative opportunities that unleash my ambition. I'm ambitious and proud of it. And safeguard my humanity as a leader, as a person, and as a dreamer.
Thank you, Sonja, for your service, your leadership, and your truth. With this weaving and these testimonios, we invite you to reshape, redefine, and transform the contours of leadership in places of power and influence. Our stories are integral to the very issues that enticed your participation today. You each have a story to tell, and together we can rewrite a future that has yet to be written.
Thanks, Lucero. And thanks to each of you for joining us on this journey to challenge our country's unimaginative obsession with the status quo, that only men can lead, that only white communities matter, that we just got to take it and take it and take it and take it. I'm excited on this journey that we're going to be embarking on this weekend, where we're replacing that status quo, that Stacy's, with forward thinking. Imagine that, forward thinking in the 21st century. Accurate and necessary contributions from Latina leaders now and well into the future to make way for the fifths, the sixth, and the majority and beyond to confront the direction of this nation with sustainable alternatives predicated on diverse, inclusive leadership ecosystems of integrity and resolve.
Yes. And know that each of you are here for a reason. The Planning Committee worked tirelessly to feature new voices, celebrate legacy leaders, and connect sectors. Committee members and UCLA staff, please stand and be recognized.
Woo! Woo!
We see you.
Yes.
No sean shy. Thank you. On behalf of the Symposium Committee, thank you for giving this space one of the most important things you can control: your time, your energy, your corazones. Si se puede, and as many a wise Latina once said, juntas podemos. Thank you.